One of the things that distinguishes UCL from all the other universities that I know is our focus on what we call our framework for education for global citizenship. This means that whatever a student is studying, at whatever level, bachelor's through to PhD and postdoc, they're always looking at the wider context within which they're studying. We want them all, for instance, to be critical thinkers and to be creative thinkers. We want all of our students to be very ambitious, but we also want them to be idealistic and to be committed to ethical behaviour. We want all of our students to understand and be sensitive to cultural difference, but in ways that go beyond simply understanding that people are culturally different, but to be inhabited by that sense of difference and not trying to make everybody like us. We also want them all to understand the importance of leadership, that people can find ways of taking responsibility, speaking up for what they think, giving leadership, and some of them will indeed go on to be chief executives of multinationals or prime ministers or presidents of countries. But it's having that moral courage to stand up for what you believe in. We also want them all to understand the importance of entrepreneurship in the modern world. Be they philosophers or pharmacologists or whatever, they have that possibility to innovate. And we want to encourage these issues by giving extracurricular opportunities for development in leadership, in entrepreneurship and so on during the studies that students do here. So if you like, it's trying to create students who will move into the world in much more rounded and challenging ways so that they can really make a difference. No matter how small, we want every single UCL graduate to be making a difference to the community they choose to live in afterwards. We're known throughout the world for the quality of our teaching, but we can still do an awful lot more. So we've published a manifesto and a whole new institutional learning and teaching strategy. And this commits us to a series of things. We are going to be better and more efficient at giving academic feedback to our students than we have done before. We are setting absolute minimum thresholds that everybody must meet in terms of time in returning work to students. We're insisting also that all of our departments and programmes go online much more. We're therefore determined to make the learning experience here one which is a hybrid, as it were, between face-to-face learning, online learning, and of course independent learning. We're feeling also that we need to have our students becoming physically more global than they are. At present, about 1 in 4 of our undergraduate students studies overseas for a term or more. We want to increase that year on year. We are, at the moment, the most internationally mobile of the student communities in the UK. We want to keep that position, but to send more of our students overseas at the same time as we bring more students in from outside of the UK, so that the learning is always looking at different methodologies. Understanding that we learn in different ways, we have different backgrounds, and that the classroom is a place of discovery about development of the self and not simply about learning about particular subjects. UCL is London's global university. When we first set this up as our strapline, a lot of eyebrows were raised. A lot of people said, just how arrogant is UCL getting? Well, I think the key thing here is that we are based in London, which is the most diverse, most cosmopolitan, most ethnically complex city in the world, and our university is a microcosm of that diversity. We also have, since our creation back in 1826, had a commitment to working with people from overseas. We also, in our commitment in research, want to help to contribute to solve some of the world's great problems, like global health, like the problem of living in cities, like intercultural misunderstanding, like how we actually can obtain well-being as human beings. And we've realised that we can't do this simply by sitting in Bloomsbury and working out to the world and coming back, but essentially being based here, but thinking about how we actually should perhaps be going overseas, in countries which fulfil 2 criteria. 1, they should be important strategically to the UK as a whole, and 2, they should be important strategically to UCL and our research and teaching agendas. So our first campus was set up in Adelaide in South Australia. That is a small campus based around a 2-year Masters and MSc in Energy and Resources, Policy and Practice. Another one is a very different type of venture overseas. We've gone into a country that is still very unfamiliar to many British people, that is Kazakhstan. And there we're working with the Kazakh government to create a new university, the Nazarbayev University. We are providing the first foundation year, and we're in the process now of developing a School of Engineering which will belong to the Nazarbayev University, but where UCL will be the partner. And now we've added to Australia and to Kazakhstan a third country, which is Qatar in the Gulf. Our focus will be on 3 areas: archaeology, cultural heritage, and museum studies. This is something which is enormously important to Qatar, a small country with enormous resources, mineral resources, oil and gas and so on, but a country which is aware that it needs really quite urgently to modernise itself, to liberalise itself, and to have a greater sense of its past in order to define itself for the future. And that's what we'll be working with both the Qatar Foundation and with the Qatar Museums authorities.